How's it going, everybody? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Thursday, May 2nd, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moonbase. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week. It's good to be here with all of you. Don't forget my Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus reading sale is still available. A few days left at the very end of May. It's going to be open until June when we start getting into Gemini season and Jupiter comes into Gemini. I will be leaving it up for you until then. The link to my booking website is in the description of this video, and all the links to all my platforms. If you're new here, subscribe to this channel, like this video, leave a comment, say what's up, all the good stuff. So, this moon is in Aquarius today. It just came off a square to Uranus. It's going to square Jupiter, and Pluto in Aquarius is about to go retrograde. So, there's a lot of Pluto energy. There's a lot of Uranian energy. Things are deep, intense, electric, and massive, massive shifts and changes coming into our lives as Jupiter in Uranus and Venus in Taurus and the Sun in Taurus is really expanding our lives in positive ways. But, you know, a lot of the breakthroughs and a lot of the walls that we are kind of ready to pound out and break through, especially with Mars and Aries, you know, this is a revolutionary time in our personal lives and the world especially. We're talking about Aquarius and Uranus. You know, the world is going through a massive revolution as well. I mean, we're seeing it all over, you know. It's like there's a lot of protests going on, all that, you know, that whole thing. And today with Jupiter, we could see some, you know, really massive breakthroughs, you know, and clashes with beliefs, you know, but also like breakthroughs of like understanding, like, okay, like we have to really find a common ground of understanding each other's ideas and values and beliefs and opinions. You know, there's a lot of opinions going on, politically, humanitarian wise, you know, on a personal level of how we want to bring value into our lives, how we want to express our value, how we want to expand our value in the world, you know, because really how our value is expanding is in ways that we really didn't perceive, you know, and definitely a lot of kind of the things that are uprising in the world with all this Aquarian, Uranian energy, with Pluto going retrograde today, you know, some shit in our lives is going to be exposed. There's a lot of deep, dark, hidden shit within ourselves, within our conscious, more in our unconscious mind, right? This is Pluto that is going to be coming up to the surface, being exposed, whether it's being exposed to other people, being exposed to yourself, a whole new awareness that's being exposed to you about yourself and the unconscious patterns and the unconscious imagery and, you know, connections that may have kind of, you know, not felt so connected, right? So there can definitely be some clashes today when it comes to, you know, our beliefs, our opinions, our emotions, you know. And once again, every time we come into this Aquarian energy, this Uranian and Pluto energy, it's just the theme has been to be able to detach and not be so fixated on the negative emotions. You know, we want to be concentrating and putting our energy towards how our lives are expanding, you know, because there's a lot of fear. And this Pluto retrograde is going to be bringing up a lot of fear, you know, and it's going to be projecting through our unconscious behaviors and traumas and unhealed kind of stuff that, you know, this Mercury's getting closer to Chiron. Mercury's still in shadow. So a lot of the unconscious stuff is connected to our wounds and our egos, right? Where things really haven't worked out. So a lot of projection is going to be coming at us, coming from the world, coming from what seems to be humanitarian or political or the collective. You know, that's the thing about this Pluto and Aquarius. It's like discerning what really is of true humanitarian values, right? And what is using humanitarian values for some underlying manipulation, right? A lot of this kind of hidden agenda stuff is going to be being exposed. That's what I really believe is going to be happening as Pluto comes retrograde here. So let's see. We move throughout the day. Here in the early morning, Pluto's going to be retrograding at 2 degrees 6 minutes. It's been sitting here for the past few days at 2 degrees 6 minutes. And we've seen a lot of shit in the world kind of fucking, a lot of protests, a lot of people's opinions and beliefs clashing. And that's going to be happening more. So more stuff is going to be coming out and popping off, right? In a big way. So if you're attaching to certain groups that seem to have, some humanitarian purpose or value, you want to have discernment, about your own opinions and your own beliefs, because this Pluto going retrograde is going to be exposing that to you. And really where you may not have been able to see or perceive what the truth is about these, organizations or these collaborations, maybe people you're collaborating with. It's like, what's the truth about these things in these relationships? And, because things that seem to be connected previously that weren't based in truth or in the light, that were really for some unconscious, some dark manipulation, for some gain, is going to be exposed now. Because this Jupiter in Taurus and this Sun and Uranus and Venus in Taurus, it's just like, that's the thing about Taurus and Aries too. Aries and Taurus, that's what I love, two horned animals, right? It's real, it's physical, it's in the real world. It's straight up, it's head first, it's no bullshit, right? Taurus is no bullshit, which is ironic, right? To Taurus. But Taurus is no BS, And Aquarius, it's just like, it's Aquarius energy is hard to read sometimes, especially with Pluto here, because it's so detached emotionally. And with this moon in Aquarius today, it's like, we can experience that a lot, It's like, man, I'm not feeling as connected as I want to be, to this person or to things that I once was connected to, right? So this moon, when it does square Jupiter and square Uranus, it might bring up some massive triggers within you, or some triggers that trigger situations in your life, or with this Pluto going retrograde, as well as another, pouring more fuel on that fire of like really pushing us and triggering us into really looking at the connections and the friendships and the relationships and our beliefs and our opinions and our philosophies about life and about this reality, and especially about this material reality, are going to be challenged, and there's going to be a lot of exposure, right? I think more information about what these past 4 years have been are going to be exposed. Pluto moving back to 29 degrees of Capricorn over these next few months, right? By the time we get into the summer and August, November, it's like Pluto's going to be moving its way back into Capricorn for the last time. This is this old system, this old matrix fully breaking down, right? And we're going to see that happen. And we can already see the pieces to that puzzle and what that's going to be and what those triggers are going to be. We don't have to go into details. This is a daily horoscope. But I feel that most people here who are on the spiritual mission, who are on the spiritual path, who are doing the spiritual work, who are putting it in each day, know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't have to, it's YouTube, right? Like I try to keep this as acceptable and open for everybody of all beliefs and all opinions, but we can see it on the world stage because we're talking Aquarius, we're talking Uranus. It's the world stage. It's all of us connected as a whole, as one, and not on some fucking hippie shit, right? Like on some real level human connectivity, and always seems to be some like underlying manipulation of coming from some collective idea, right? Like we've seen it so much over the past few years of like people protesting or people getting together in groups and then finding out that this group is like funded by some other entity who had some special interest to like pay people to even put on some show that they were a part of this group, an idea, and to push some agenda. Like there's always some hidden agenda with Pluto, right? Now that it's going retrograde, I think these hidden agendas are going to be exposed even more. And even, trying to take people down with false accusations or false charges or false whatever. Like, more and more of that is going to keep coming up here, because that's how Pluto tends to work. It can't operate in the light. Pluto does not operate in the light. It operates in the shadows. So whatever operating in the shadows, whatever's pulling some manipulative kind of whatever, we're going to see things be exposed and be exposed and be exposed, and it's really going to rock the world. Over going into January 2025, December, I mean, we all know that November and December are going to be wild, right? But we got to think when Pluto goes direct again, it's going to be like, okay, we're officially moving into this full-blown Pluto in Aquarius. And we have to think back to the late 1700s. It was 1776 when the United States was founded, that it was like, breaking away from the binds of control of Pluto and starting their own kind of situation, in another place where they could do their own thing. And that's what that last Pluto and Aquarius transit 250 years ago was all about. It was like it all began at the end of Pluto and Capricorn. And then once Pluto started moving through Aquarius, that's when, the United States was really being brought together. People were coming together, supporting these same ideas of freedom and all this stuff, like, but also people being exposed to like where they've been manipulated. We are going through that right now. And do you think those people 250 years ago were really like understanding that? No, it was just they were a part of it, moving through it each day, making choices and making decisions and surviving as reality was happening. They didn't have, some perspective to observe it. We can use the astrology to observe it, and observe the cycles. We can use history. We can observe. We can't truly observe what we're a part of right now, what's happening and where we're going. But it feels like, and what the astrology is telling me is that, there's a massive crack in the matrix. There's a massive hole that's being, cut through, especially now with Mars and Aries. Like, people are not fucking around. Like, people are ready to take charge and move forward, But there's a lot of spiritual lessons involved with this, with Saturn and Pisces. Saturn's going to retrograde in June here at 19 degrees of Pisces. It won't make it to the third decan, but it's like, man, we're moving through Saturn and Pisces. So there's a lot of deep spiritual lessons, especially connected to our subconscious kind of, slosh that we have to really work through. Things can get really fucking messy and sloppy with Saturn and Pisces. It's like, being in reality as much as we possibly can right now and calling things like it is, which Aries and Taurus does. And that's what's great about, the two most stubborn signs in the zodiac, Aries and Taurus. As stubborn as it gets, it's like, like calling it like it is and being real and not fucking, trying to keep a secret or keep it held in, or keep like your own ideas and opinions. And, it's like, we want to be able to express our opinions and, express ourselves and our ideas and our creativity freely, but there truly is some force underneath that wants to pull that away from us. And like having awareness of what that is, on a collective level, that awareness can help us, say no, and keep evolving our individual identities as unique individuals, not we're all a part of this and we all have to think the same. We all have to be the same. We all have to be the same color and the same gender and this is blah. It's like, no, like we are all unique. Aries reminds us of that. Aquarius reminds us of that. But the dark side of Aquarius is that what I just said is that we all look the same. We all dress the same. We all taste the same. We all smell the same. We all have the same haircuts. No individuality. That's the dark side of Aquarius. The unique and light side of Aquarius is expressing your unique identity that can bring people together as a whole, that can inspire people, right? And that's the Leo Aquarius axis, right? Is being your raw, authentic self and bringing people together. You know, by being your raw, authentic self, you know, and going through this Chiron in Aries and Mercury getting closer to conjunct with Chiron for the third and last time while still in shadow. You know, we're starting to understand this relationship of, okay, if we're going to like stand on our own and be outside of this Pluto and Aquarius, Pluto Capricorn system that really wants to take full control, we have to be that raw, authentic person that we truly are, you know, whatever that is, however you express that in your life in a practical way, whether it's, you know, just within your family or within your friends or within your work, your job, your career, your business. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you got to be some, you know, famous person with a voice or a platform to really fucking make a difference, right? Because really, what's really been exposed here is that the people with the platforms are usually the ones who aren't really like helping at all because they're bought and sold. Pluto and Aquarius is the end of celebrity culture, right? When Pluto is in Leo, in the opposite sign, in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, it's like that was the birth of celebrity culture. Okay? Now we're Pluto and Aquarius. This is the death of that and the rise of people coming together to express our unique individual selves. And going through this Chiron and Aries transit is healing that and reminding us that, fuck, like we've been fed all this crap that has sunk into our psyche. Pluto rules the psyche, you know, our psychological makeup, our unconscious. Like these things trickle in unconsciously and subconsciously from media, the screens, the scrolling, the television, the radio, music that's bought and sold from these higher entities that really have a whole other agenda. So this is it. This is the final grab that we're going to see with Pluto going retrograde, Pluto on its way back into Capricorn. This is the final power grab. This is it, right? Because it's been a battle. We've seen all these groups stand up and do their own thing. We've seen the whole farming thing in Europe and the farmers in Europe and even the truckers in Canada. We've seen the Trump people kind of come together over here. We've seen, you know, how fucking people on the internet and TikTok are like kind of doing their own thing and building their own communities and whatever part of the world or whatever, you know, lane that you're in where people are coming together and doing their own thing and not going along with the same old BS and the system and the matrix that's been laid out, like that's what's going to win. That's what's going to be successful. You know, no matter what it is, you know, whatever you like, whatever you are doing in life that is really bringing people together and can benefit humanity as a whole, or even just the communities or the small communities that you're in, you know, that's what's going to thrive. And if you're doing that, you're probably not doing what everybody else is doing, you know? And it doesn't matter on any level. It could just be something so simple. But this is the moment where things are really going to start to fucking rattle, right? And today is a day where we can see that, you know, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be exposed over these next 6 to 8 months during this Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrogrades for 6 months out of the year, right? So in Pluto retrogrades, it's like it's like our social values kind of go the opposite direction. They get challenged, you know? Think about it, like Pluto retrograde 6 months out of the year. That's half a year. Okay? Half the population of the entire world are born with Pluto retrograde. And the other half is born with Pluto direct. So it's this balancing act of, you know, our values, our social norms of like, okay, like there are always going to be people who, and a lot of the people with Pluto retrograde in the chart, you know, that's like they totally kind of go against the grain. They kind of do their own thing. They're more willing to go into the darkness and face the dark shit and look at the dark things and be like, you know what, like this is what it truly is. You know, so now with Pluto going retrograde, it's like, don't be afraid to look at, you know, the place within yourself, that kind of more deeper, darker, unconscious place within yourself that's more uncomfortable, that can be very uncomfortable to look at. It's like, you know, don't be afraid to go there because it's going to be happening all around you. You know, and you want to keep your eyes open, keep your eyes peeled. Neptune's about to go to 29 degrees, right? Mars is on its way to the North Node. Mars is going to conjunct with Chiron. The energy and the heat is going to ramp the fuck up here, right? But what is beautiful about this whole thing is that as all this intense shit is happening with Pluto, Neptune going to 29 degrees, Mars getting ready to conjunct the North Node and getting ready to conjunct Chiron, you know, this is like the drums of war beating, right? And they've been beating and it's been building up. But God or the divine, the creator, whatever the fuck it is for you, has our backs. And I really believe that. With Venus here, and Taurus, the Sun, Jupiter, Uranus, they're still conjunct. This conjunction is still active, right? Because it hasn't been fully activated yet. Once the Sun gets to Uranus, once the Sun gets to 21 degrees, once Venus gets to 21 degrees, once Mercury gets to 21 degrees of Taurus, and this new moon we're about to have in Taurus on the 7th and the 8th, that's going to be happening at 18 degrees, which is really in the same vicinity as that conjunction. That's when it's going to be activated. So as the intensity all around us and in our relationships and deep in our psyche and definitely in the fucking world, the intensity ramping up and things are fucking getting hot out there, our individual lives are going to be expanding in ways, you know, we've been talking about this for months. You know, but as all of this really intense shit starting to happen and the outer planets are starting to go retrograde, we're going to start to experience some of the most amazing expansion in our lives, you know, but also some of the most radical shit happen in the world that could really trigger a lot of people, that can really trigger us to have to make some big moves in our lives. And if we're willing to just go and fucking make a big change in our lives, your life's going to expand in a very powerful and positive way. No doubt. You know, just you got to have faith with Jupiter here, right? You really do. You got to have faith with the Sun here. You got to have faith with Venus. And it's like, you know what? Like, no matter what, we can't control what's going on outside of our own being. But having the awareness of that helps us navigate. And having the awareness of that, we have the advantage to take all this massive, powerful, positive manifestation energy with Venus and the Sun and Uranus and Jupiter and Taurus, you know, and utilize it for our own benefit, right? And for our own benefit to really expand our lives, to really serve and help other people also do the same. So being able to face a lot of the deep shit and the dark shit that's going to be coming up with Pluto going retrograde now, it's important to really like stand up and like take a look at it, you know, and not be afraid of it, because we're going to see more fear being projected from other people onto us, from the media, from the world, from social media. We're going to see it all over the place, you know, and that is a control tactic, right? Whether people are projecting fear and they're aware of it or not, it's this desire to control. That's where fear comes from. It's not coming from love, right? So this Venus in Taurus, the Sun in Taurus, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction we just had, it's like we have to come from a place of love and rawness, right? Aquarius isn't necessarily the most raw sign. Aries and Taurus is fucking raw. Scorpio is raw, right? We want to be that raw, authentic person. And that's what the Sun is all about. It's what Leo is all about, is expressing that raw, authentic person that you truly are as a creator. Because that's our purpose here, is to create and to create, and to inspire. And when you create, you inspire. That's, like we talked about, the Leo-Taurus axis. Create, inspire. That's what's important right now. If you get stuck in the fear, or you're projecting fear yourself, more than likely, if you're letting the fear take over you, you're probably also projecting fear. So, Pluto retrograde here is going to give us an opportunity to see through that shit, see through our own shit, see through our own projections, And also, for the people that you love, coming from a place of love around you, the people that you love, if you feel like someone's projecting onto you, call it out in a nice way. It doesn't have to be, I'm just going to run. I don't like how this projection is coming onto me, so I'm just going to ignore it or block it out or ghost or disappear. It's because, I don't, So it's important to just be in a place of true, raw honesty right now. And Mercury is in Aries. Once it comes out of shadow, it's like, bam. We can really say how we feel a lot easier. It's not quite there yet, and we're starting to understand these things that we've been going through with Chiron and all that. We're starting to really piece together this puzzle. But here in the next week and a half, it's really going to start to come together, which this has been a long one. Mercury has gone through a lot with the eclipse we just went through and the Mercury retrograde and dealing with Chiron. It's going through a lot. So it'll be nice for Mercury to come out of shadow, even though the outer planets are starting to go retrograde. So, and it's fine. These are all big lessons. And I know for this first half of the year, I've been saying it. It's like, if you've been putting in the work, you've been laying the foundation, you've been laying your own, concrete, this is what I want my reality to look like, because this started with Mars and Capricorn at the beginning of the year, right? Really actively doing the work and laying that foundation to get up that mountain. And now that we're here in Taurus season with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction and Venus here and Mercury will be here, this is when the best things are going to start to show up in our lives. No doubt about that. We have the Page of Cups today. So, like I said, we're all creators, right? And if you're buying into the fear, you're not going to be able to see what's in front of you and realize how full our cup truly is. But if you're really paying attention, you can really see how much abundance and prosperity we truly have in our lives and how much is truly coming into our lives, and just being able to ride the wave, and not get caught up in trying to control things. Because with this Pluto going retrograde, a lot of control, a lot of fear, this desire to control, this desire to, well, maybe not a desire, but this unconscious desire to project fear to control is going to be coming up a lot, which can, really blind us to what's right in front of us, which is really the gold, the prosperity, and what we've been working so hard to really bring in as we're moving through intense times. These are very intense times. 2024 is one of the most intense years of this decade, if I must say so myself. And I think a lot of astrologers who I admire would agree. Because once we start getting into the second half, it's going to be a whole new world with Uranus coming into Gemini and Jupiter, 12 years from now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, damn. Like, what's it really going to look like after this year? We can't really wrap our heads around it, right? But I can tell you the second half of this decade is going to be much more like, I don't want to say smoother, but, interesting, not so fucking pressurized, not as pressurized, right? We're going to have a Uranus-Pluto trine. That's going to be a great time. That's a wonderful time. That's going to revolutionize the world that we live in. And so is this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which, by the way, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction reading sale is still available. So if you're new here, subscribe to my channel, like this video, say what's up. There's a lot of new people coming here every day. I appreciate it very much. Glad to be sharing this with you guys every day. Oh, and by the way, on Friday, if you're in Los Angeles or traveling or whatever, my good buddy Evan Nathaniel Grimm and fellow astrologer and fellow musician and a good friend of mine, we're going to be playing a show at the Whiskey on Friday here in LA. So if you're in LA, come to the Whiskey around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Me and Evan will be there. We're going to be jamming the fuck out, playing some rock and roll. So we just got done rehearsing, actually. So I had to come right back here. We rehearse on the same block as my studio, so I had to come right back here and do this. And so come to the Whiskey. Say what's up if you're in town. Evan's a good friend of mine, and I'm glad that we're playing music together. He's a great astrologer, great musician, and happy to see any of you who are in Los Angeles or in the area, Orange County, like wherever you're at. Pop on through and say what's up. So anyway, I got to go to bed. I got to get home. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday. This Pluto retrograde, don't buy into the fear. Things are going to be exposed. Don't be alarmed. This is how it's supposed to be. And this is only the beginning, right, of Pluto. So I will see you guys on Friday. Peace out. Have a good one.